Okay, I think now is time to set the online connection with Fabian Takacs from the Institute of Management and Strategy at the University of St. Gallen.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for your invitation. Sorry for not being there in person. It was not possible time-wise to come over to Milano, even though it's only 3 hours for me. I live in Lucerna. But I really enjoy to be here in this format. So if you have any questions or you want to go deeper in some stuff I show you right after, you can also link up on LinkedIn or send me an email or go. I will send also the slides. There are some hyperlinks for the research we do. I'm at the University of St. Gallen. I do my habilitation in circular economy and systemic transformation. But today I only want to focus on business models and ecosystems. Okay. First of all, I think what is really relevant to understand for me, in my perspective, is when we deal with ecosystems, systemic transformation, and business models, we have two options in the textile industry to do. We can change by disaster, so we wait till the circumstances are changing, till the customers are not buying anymore or buying something different, or environmental factors are changing rapidly, or the nicer one, we change by design, so to say, ex ante, before, because we are willing to do something, because we like to change the realities we working in. Okay, so I try to combine the sustainability logic with the business model logic, the way we do it here in St. Gallen. For sure, you know the triple bottom line. We take an integrated perspective, which is more holistic, where we try to really targeting the 3 dimension in the business model. To make a short round how we look at the business model, I think this is are the 4 relevant dimensions. This is the concept we use here, magic triangle, as we call it. In the center, for sure, is the customer or customer segments. Who do we address? On top, we have the value proposition. So if we sell jeans, we do not only sell some fabric, we sell also lifestyle. As you know, you work in this area, some of you. And what is also really relevant, it's the story around, it's also the mission around, as we know from some brands. We have on the top, on the bottom right, we have the value creation mechanism, as we call value chain. This is also where the network is coming in. And on the bottom left, the value, the revenue model, how it's monetized. Normally in textile industry, not only in textile, but also in other industries, it's really transactional driven. So it's about transaction, it's about selling volume, and in the same time, this transactional logic where we sell volume is also destroying the industry itself, because we have some saturation problems coming up and other environmental issues. So if we combine the 3 dimension of the sustainability logic with the business model logic, then we see there is an impact on people, planet, profit coming from these 4 dimensions. So from the value proposition, this is really affecting the people on the one side, and also the monetization, because it gives access to the product. On the other side, we have the impact on planet. It's coming from how, it's coming from what, as you can imagine, the way we produce, but also the product, the services itself. And for sure, impact on profit is coming from the difference of costs in the how, and the monetization, the revenue model on the bottom left. What is really important to summarize and bring it together is, and we often lose that, and this is, I think, also from a theory, but also from an empirical driven, and I work together a lot with companies in the Lake Constance region, in the textile industry. What is really interesting to see is the fact that we think a lot about value creation, about the size of the cake, but we do not really think about the value capturing. So the size of the slice of the cake. How is it possible for companies, the society, to capture value of circular improvements? So if you produce a textile like a t-shirt in a better way, monomaterial, we heard it in the last presentation. If we produce it in a better way, then the question is, who can capture the value? If it's longer in the market, if it's easy to recyclable in the end, the question is, who capture the value? Do we have a system, a boundary spanning activities, as one business model itself is not able to do it itself? So to bring it together only shortly from a conceptual perspective. So if you think about value creation and we have the price here, take it really generic and the costs over there. Up there, willingness to pay. This is what the companies try to push up to have can make or realize higher prices. For sure, the difference between willingness to pay and price, this is the value capture of the customer. This is what the buyers get as a capturing. So the difference between price and costs, for sure, firm share, and we have some opportunity costs, what is probably supplier share. So all in all, you see, I mean, this is a really generic look and feel about value creation, value capturing. What I really try to show you is if we establishing circular business models and we want to have more circularity, we also have to change the rule of the game around that. It's easier to value capture for companies if they perform more circular. Without the change of the system, as we are in a linear system, it will be really, really hard. Thank you. So circular economy needs also circular ecosystems. So there is not one circular business model, as we often hear, do some sharing here, a repair service or something. It's an interaction along the circular value chain, as you know, from take, make, use, recover, and probably a little bit dispose, but going back in the cycle. And therefore, we need the interplay of actors. And this is the most, I think, the most virulent or the hard thing to do is because we are really in a, let's call it in a Henry Ford linear logic of fragmentation, and all the fragments have to be really efficient in a value chain with a lot of actors, and allowing to that they work together and then can realize the value for the customer and for the whole ecosystem, not only in their own fragment, but together. This is the biggest issue we have to solve from a company, but also from a regulatory perspective. Therefore, we need also orchestration. We need these business models to work properly together, to bring them together, to really allow for a value capturing in the end. So we have different roles in research as we look at companies in the market and around. For sure, we have the enablers, could be a transactional or allowing for payments, could also be allowing for digital services. We have the producer role, the production companies producing textiles. We have the user, really important, not only in B2C, but also in B2B. The state is procuring a lot of textiles. In Switzerland, the amount of millions of Swiss francs spent for textiles in B2B is tremendous. And it is also a lever and a good signal into the market. Circular orchestration, a group of people, could be state-driven, could be company-driven, doesn't matter in the end, but bringing these different perspectives together to, in the end, realize the advantage of circular economy. Okay. A short advertising in between. It's German, but we will produce next year, as I coming to Milano for half a year, probably we see us there, spring 2026 to the University of Cattolica. We also translate the book, The Circular Economy Navigator, which you can buy in summer. By the way, it's my first book, so quite happy about that. We also translate it to Italy next year, also with Italian cases. Now we have 400 cases, predominantly driven by German, Swiss, and Austrian cases, and we will really enrich that with logics and cases from Italy. So as a short advertising, beside with interesting authors also from Italy, Andrea Urbinati, Davide Geroni are also part of our journey here as guests in the book. So shortly, last slide, 2 more minutes. We are working with some kind of a pattern logic, how you can arrange such circular ecosystem. You will find it in the book as mentioned. And we take 4 categories, or let's call it 4 pillars, how to organize such circular ecosystems. First of all, you have to close the loop. We talked about that in other sessions during these 2 days. We talk about reuse, part reuse, refurbishment, or renovation. It depends on the industry, recycling. For sure, the design is important. In some cases, bio-based and biodegradability is an interesting feature. Waste is input, as we know from Freitag bags. They use old Targ trucks or reverse logistics solutions. Here, some examples: eBay for the reuse elements, and Question is a Zurigo brand with banana material, which goes into their design of the bags. Second pillar, improve the loop. So we see a little different patterns here, how to, as mentioned before, how to prolong life cycle, how to make it more sustainable, environmentally friendly. As we know, maintenance repair is a big issue. We know it from Nudie Jeans, to take as an example here. Interface, the carpet company, is really well known and was well known for eco-efficiency, laser technology in production to reduce the footprint. Or a small Swiss brand, it's a beautiful one from Graubünden. They produce really locally, so localization with local stakeholders. They have higher prices, but really long lifetime, really interesting one. But we also have to talk, third one, about monetization, how the value could be captured. As sales is normal, we need other solutions as well. We can't use pay-per-use rent instead of buy, or performance-based output-oriented monetization in all the cases. But in some cases, it's really interesting. You heard about the On case with subscription for shoes. Could be interesting in a high end. But we also can talk about, as you see down there, about incentivized take-back solutions, extended producer responsibility, as I really try in Switzerland right now to push a prepaid fee for repair on every textile. We know that in electronical equipment, every consumer is paying a small amount to an overall systemic solution for recycling. We call it vorgezogene Recyclinggebühr. Could be also interesting for incentivize repair services, a prepaid repair fee. Why not? Could be an interesting systemic solution. Last but not least, fourth, excite the loop. Here we think more about how to act as a solution provider to make it more interesting for customers, how to integrate luxury elements, as we know it from Stella McCartney brand, experience selling, where you put a whole mission behind, as in Patagonia, for water and saving the planet. Or a small brand from Romania, Solv, they are more in the prosumer, so they have bags where you can print some kind of the logic how to build it yourself, and then you can screw it yourself. Really interesting one. Also sharing or Robinhood could be an interesting topic over here. So that said, we have 40 patterns there in the book if you're interested, or you can reach out to me. We can discuss that, how you can arrange circular ecosystems. And that said, thank you very much for your attention. It's back to you, to Milano. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Fabian. Let me see if there are questions from the room. Yes, there is one question. You should be able to hear it in a moment.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Hello.
Okay, good. No, I have a question relating to the systemic solution you mentioned about the prepaid repair fee for textiles. This sounds similar to what we have in Europe as EPR, extended producer responsibility, which is now actually going to be mandatory in Europe for textiles in a few years, if I'm correct. And I think it's already been implemented in the Netherlands, for example. Do you have any? Have you looked into these schemes that are already in place, and do you think they are effective? And can you provide some more insight on how they work?
Thank you very much for this question. There is not so much empirical evidence. I mean, the basic problem we have, if we want to perform higher R strategies like repair services, we have the problem that labor is relatively more expensive than resource prices. So people and companies and consumers tend to go rather to buy it new instead of repairing. And to overcome this relation problem, we have two options. We can internalize into resource prices, but this is really a tough one. Or we can somehow enable or subsidize labor. This is another option. And with this scheme, which I mentioned, where like a systemic increase of repair services we see in Austria as an example. They started last year, but it's not with an EPR system. It's driven by, or it's paid by tax volume. So what they do is everybody in society can get a voucher for 200 euro repair services. It's paid up to 50% of the whole amount of repair price. And you can use it for different product categories. So if you go and you repair your drilling machine and it's 150, they give you 75 euro for this service in certified places. But as I mentioned, and this would be, but it's a conceptual idea, I didn't see it in practice, is that you pay this with a EPR system. So every textile which is sold in the market could be priced with 1 euro or 2 euro. This is not bad for textiles that are 70 euro. It's a little bit harder for textiles that are 7 euros, but a t-shirt for 7 euros has nothing to look for in the market. So I think from an elastic price perspective, it's really an interesting mechanism with a flat scheme here, like a small euro amount to financialize or enable such an EPR system. I hope this answer was fine for you and you heard it. Thank you very much for your time.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. It was clear and appreciated from the public. Thank you.